He felt the ground shake before anyone else noticed. Frost rose around him as he whispered the truth no one wanted to hear. The Soviet force moving toward them wasn't just strong, it was unstoppable. And in that frozen moment, one German soldier realized the army he served was about to be swept away. The soldier felt the frozen earth tremble before he saw the truth. Snow drifted around him like falling ash as a shaken voice near the trench whispered, "They're coming, and this time they will not stop." At that moment, he understood something the others would not admit. The line was breaking, and the force pushing toward them was far greater than anything they had ever faced. His name was Lenz, and the winter had carved its marks across his face. Beneath his heavy coat, his ribs fought for space between cold breaths. Ice clung to his lashes, but the real weight pressing on him was the knowledge that the world around him was shifting, and his army was buckling under that shift. He stood among worn soldiers, yet a strange stillness surrounded him, as if he already knew how this story would end. Lenz had once believed the front lines were a place of honor. When he first marched east, the air had smelled of metal and dust, and he carried a blind hope that the hardship would make sense someday. But the years had stripped that hope from him piece by piece. He had watched friends fall beside quiet streams, on broken roads, in silent woods that swallowed their last breaths. He carried those moments like frost on his skin. The memory of a comrade laughing by a fire still warmed him sometimes, but even that warmth now felt thin, fading like the last glow of a dying star. The ground beneath his boots felt harder today, as if the frozen soil itself knew what was coming. Lenz could sense the shift in the wind. It carried a deep, steady rumble that grew stronger each hour. Word had spread that the Soviet advance was moving with a force that seemed endless. Villages behind the lines had already fallen silent. Even the officers, usually so quick to talk, spoke in short breaths now. A young soldier stumbled toward Lenz, fear shaking his voice. "They say no help is coming. They say we stand alone." Bystanders near him pretended not to hear, staring at the sky, the ground, anything but the truth forming around them. Their silence was heavy, almost painful. It was easier to hide in that silence than face what Lenz had already accepted. He studied the horizon, where the gray sky touched the frozen fields. In that quiet moment, he felt something shift inside him. The fear around him no longer reached him. He had seen enough of war to know when a tide had turned, and this tide was rising fast. As the rumble grew closer, Lenz noticed an older officer nearby muttering about holding ground. The officer barked orders, but his hands shook, giving away what his voice tried to hide. Lenz watched, calm and still. His silence was not surrender, it was understanding. Sometimes the strongest thing a man can do is stand steady when the world tilts. A runner arrived from the rear, breathless and pale. He carried a message that ended the last strand of doubt. The front had collapsed. The Soviets were pushing through every gap. The Wehrmacht was no longer holding, it was breaking. Some soldiers panicked, others closed their eyes. But Lenz stood rooted to the earth, absorbing every word without flinching. He felt the weight of a truth that was clear and cold. The moment had come. The Soviets were about to crush the Wehrmacht, and no order could stop it now. As the message spread, the men around him looked to Lenz, not because he spoke, but because he didn't. His calm presence softened their rising fear. One soldier whispered, "How are you so steady?" His answer came quietly, carried on a breath that fogged in the cold air. A person who carries truth does not need to raise his voice. Another line followed, one that held the weight of years. Courage isn't loud. Sometimes it's the quiet choice to keep standing. When the first distant shapes appeared through the frost, the soldiers did not run. They tightened their grips, steadied their hearts, and faced the coming force together, not as victors, but as men who had found courage in calm. And as the storm closed in, Lenz felt something unexpected. Not fear, not anger, just a deep, steady acceptance that brought peace to the cold edges of his heart. In the final moments before the clash, a strange unity settled over the worn line of soldiers. For the first time in a long time, they stood as one. The story lingers as a quiet reminder that strength is not always found in winning. Sometimes it rises in the simple act of facing truth with steady hands. Let viewers reflect on this moment, share where they are watching from, and join the community that honors stories of quiet courage and unseen strength.